All right, guys, as promised, here is your rubric for the modified 2020 document-based question, or DBQ. This rubric is only being used for the exam. So for those of you that are going on to take AP US History next year, this is not going to be like the new rubric that they use for everything from here on out. They made it very clear to us that this is a one-time thing in order to accommodate the take-home exams due to this pandemic that's going everywhere. So we've modified it. You'll see the first thing is that instead of being a 7-point rubric, it is now based on 10 points. And there are a couple reasons that they've done that. I suspect part of it is to stretch the point range out a little bit so they can have a clearer delineation between the kids that are getting 5s and 4s and 3s. That way, everyone's scores aren't crowded together. But the other reason that they changed it was to give you a couple more student-friendly points, which I think is really good. And I think the good news about this is that in looking at this document and studying it, I do think that you guys, there are a lot more points that are within your reach. So before we even get started, I know the one question that a lot of you are going to ask me is, well, what do I need to get a 5? What do I need to get a 4? What do I need to get a 3? And the truth of the matter is nobody knows. College Board doesn't release what are called the cut scores each year until after all of the exams are graded. So this isn't like at school where you shoot for a 90% and you get a 90% and you get an A. Instead, what they're going to do, hang on one second. Yes, darling, do you need something? Oh, it's recording me, yes. Say hi to everyone. That was Declan. Instead, what it's going to do is they're going to grade them all, and then they're going to look at the spread of scores and say, okay, the top 10% of kids got 9s and 10s, so that's going to be a 5. And then the next 15% or whatever percent they want. So basically what College Board does is they'll decide we want this many kids to get a 5. So the top percentage will get a 5 up until that score is basically filled up. So in terms of what to shoot for, I don't know what to tell you other than we're all going to shoot for 9s and 10s, right? We're all going to try to get as many points as we can. So if you take a look at this, guys, let's go through each one point by point. The first two, thesis and contextualization, these are exactly the same. So you're going to get the first 2 points the same way that you've always done. Evidence is a little bit different, and evidence is now worth 3 points. You're going to get 1 point if you use the content of at least 2 documents to address the prompt, but then you're going to get another point if you support your argument. Guys, when I look at your essays, I don't think any of you should be getting just 1 point for evidence. I think all of you are going to be getting 2 or 3 points, okay? Really, no one should be using the documents if you're not using them to support your arguments. So just pretend that first point for evidence doesn't even exist. All right. There are 5 documents, remember. So out of the 5 documents, if you use 2 of them and you use them to support your argument, then you're going to get 2 evidence points. If you use 4 documents to support your argument, then you're going to get 3 evidence points. Okay, so that's a little bit different. Evidence beyond the doc. What they've done, guys, is they've added another opportunity to get a point there. And this is also good because there's only 5 documents now. So there should be more that you can add in from your own knowledge. And if you'll recall, evidence beyond the doc is just like when you write the LEQ. It's evidence that you use to support your argument that you pulled out of your brain. And remember, that can't be located anywhere in any of the documents. So after you examine the 5 documents, if you can think of 2 more pieces of evidence that would support your thesis statement and the argument that you made in your thesis statement, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to use those. And remember, this has to be more than just referencing it. You have to write like a full sentence or 2 about them, explaining how this evidence supports your argument. So if you do that once, then you get 1 point. And if you do that twice, then you get 2 points. Okay. So guys, right there, we haven't even done a HIP analysis yet, and you have the opportunity to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of your 10 points. So this DBQ is going to be really doable for you guys. I really think that a lot of you are going to be able to get good scores as long as you commit to doing the review of the material while you guys are home. Okay, so moving along, guys, the last category and the last 3 points are your analysis and reasoning points. And what they've done here is they've given you another opportunity to earn a point for your HIP analysis. If you do a HIP analysis for one document, and remember, you're explaining how the point of view, purpose, historical context, or intended audience is relevant, and again, using it to support your argument. If you do it for one document, you get 1 point. If you do it for 2 documents, you get 2 points. Guys, this should be a piece of cake for you. So right there, guys, 9 points. Very, very easily within all of your reach. And the last one is that famous unicorn point. They put that 10 points, or that 10th point in there, really knowing that most students are not going to get it. Now, does that mean we're not going to try? No. And I do think there are some of you that are capable of it. However, the first 9 points should really be within your reach. And honestly, I would be shocked if 9s didn't equate to 5s. I know we said that we can't predict what the scores are, but I really don't think they're going to limit a 5 to the people that get a 10, because it's so difficult to get a 10. So I do really think that we have the possibility to see a lot more 5s this year, as long as you guys are doing the work on your end and reviewing the material and remembering what's going on, and especially in some of the earlier time periods that maybe we haven't talked about in a while. And again, just to remind you guys, the time period being tested is going to be 1200 to 1900. So you guys have not missed out on any substantive material. Right where we stopped, right where we were about to do our last test, is where the test is going to end in terms of time periods. Okay, so the other thing that's come up a lot, guys, some of the teachers were concerned. They said, well, I've been teaching my students to annotate on the actual documents. And, truth be told, so have I. And I hadn't really thought about that. The best solution I can think of, I guess some teachers had contacted, or some students had contacted their teachers and asked, would they be able to print the documents? Honestly, guys, I wouldn't even mess around with it that day. What I would do, and you can practice this, we're going to do a couple practice DBQs before the real thing so that you guys are ready to go. I would just get a couple blank pieces of paper and maybe like draw a grid on them and like doc 1 and do your HIP analysis of doc 1, so that even though it's not right next to the actual text of the document, it's still right there in front of you and it's still written down. I wouldn't mess around with trying to print anything or annotate on like a computer program or anything like that. Okay, guys, so this is your rubric. It looks a little bit different because I took this from another teacher, so that's why it looks a little bit different than the one that I usually use to grade you, but the points are there, and like I said, I really think that this could maybe be a blessing in disguise. I think maybe this puts some of those higher scores in reach of more of you, so we'll see what happens, but I will keep you guys up to date as I find out additional information. As always, if you have any questions, either send me an email or stick it in the comments below. All right. Bye, guys.